I don't encourage anyone to go and do or say anything on my behalf. Please, seriously, please do not do that. This video is not about my ban. Please don't see it as that. It's going to be a couple of minutes to get something out of the way because it's something I think I need to talk about, and then we're moving on to something else in the video. Recently, something happened in the community which I'm not going to go into, and I think it showed how the community support each other as soon as one of them's been wronged. We can be at each other's throats all day, every day, for weeks and months on end, but it's not serious. It's never serious. It never matters. But as soon as any of us see one or more members of the community being wronged from an outside source, we are so strong at supporting each other. It's insane. And I feel like there's been certain instances recently where that showed through. And I think it's fantastic to see the community pull together like that, because whoever's on the receiving end of being mistreated never has to ask for that help. It's just insane how we come together like glue. It's crazy. Whilst obviously I appreciate any support I get, of course, 1,000,000,000% I do, thank you. I have to make it clear what I said in February. I want people to think for themselves. I don't want to tell you what to think. I don't want to tell you how to act. I can't do that. But I don't want people to be going out of their way to cause any trouble on my behalf or to treat anybody badly on my behalf, because that doesn't solve anything. It might seem like you're doing it for me, and I get the motive behind it, and as I say, thank you, but it's just not the way to go about it sometimes. It's really not. And I'd never considered my position in the community. I've always seen myself, I don't really get that many views on YouTube. If I stream, I don't really get that many views on Twitch. And I'm just kind of, I don't really know. I'm known, but I'm not watched. I don't know how to word that. But this comment that I got on screen now, I got that back in February. Before seeing that comment, I had never considered myself to be an influencer, let alone one of the biggest influencers. And I think that that's probably ignorance on my part. I probably should have seen that I'd got that sort of standing in the community. Again, it means a lot that people look up to me in that sense of they're prepared to listen to me and perhaps be influenced by me. Like that's something that's only recently sunk in, and before I made that video being banned, I'd never even considered. I should make it clear, unless I am making it evident that something I'm saying is factual, anything I am saying is my opinion. And I am giving my reasoning for why that's my opinion and why I disagree with a different opinion. I personally consider that to be debate. I really enjoy debating because that's how I personally learn. From debating, I can learn what other people think. Even if I go away from it disagreeing, I can perhaps understand why they think what they think. That is what I try to do on Twitter, what I try to do on Facebook, what I used to try and do on the forums, and what I will attempt to do with this video now. I'm trying to be very careful what I say to it because I'm trying not to give out any information. This remains pure speculation, but it's unusual to have heard the same thing from more than 2 or 3 different people. As I say, this is completely unconfirmed. It's all hearsay. But rumour has it that my ban, along with other people getting banned, was too... what was the word that we used? What was the word that they used? It was to make an example of us. That's the word I've heard a few times. Okay, no problem. If you need if they need to do that to make an example of us, okay. It would have been, in my opinion, better to have gone about it differently because whilst it might not seem it, the people that have been banned had the game and the community at heart. We wanted to try and do everything we could for the betterment of the game and the community. So it is a shame that that was the go-to way of doing it. If this is true, as I say, it could be completely false, so do not go holding this as fact. This is hearsay just based on what I've been told by a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, by a few different people. It could be completely false, but it does kind of line up with what I've seen and the way I was treated and the way others were treated. It's a very unusual situation to be in. Now, I do see the way that the community comes together. I've just gone over that. But I want you to make up your own opinions, make up your own minds. I am giving you my opinions, and it's great that you think you can relate to that. I enjoy that. I enjoy being able to make people see what I'm thinking, and I think that's a good way of getting conversation going, and that's my goal for it all. If I say anything, it's not for you to take that and support me in the sense of going to cause trouble. Of course, everyone enjoys a bit of support. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel motivated to carry on. But that support, I don't want it to turn into trouble for somebody else. I don't know how to word this. I am glad you can see my side, my perspective. I am really glad that you have my back with it. When I got banned from that forum, I was amazed at how much support I got from people who before that absolutely hated me. To me, that told me that it was undeserving. But yeah, that's not what this video is about. This little bit of talking now, this is me trying to ask you, please do not go out your way to cause trouble for me, because I've been talking to a few people recently about the topic, and something that I probably should have considered at the start of the year, and I didn't. The people who we talk to now on social media from the company who make the game, they are not the same people who we built up a rapport with before that. These are different people coming in to do the job. So whilst it might seem to us like we've got us and them, as us being the community, them being the company, those are different people on the end of those accounts now. And that's something I never considered. That's on me completely. But I think a lot of us got used to being able to talk to the old devs in a different way. And perhaps this is a way now which we can't. Like, I don't think, when I say get away with, I mean there was that sort of mutual respect where you sort of knew your line with people. And I think we've got a new team coming to take over the game, or new employees coming to take over the game. And we've tried to carry on with that, but I think we need to see that we can't do that. That's on me. I didn't see that. When I was pushing my opinions on the shop delay back in, I think it was February, January, February, I was talking as if I was talking to people who I'd been talking to for a long time, and clearly that's not the case. So if the example, which again, it's a theory, but if the example was being made to show the community, right, we're not standing for this, stop it, then okay, that's what the point of it was. Again, I do think it could have been handled differently, but that's not what this is about. So my message to you is just keep that in mind next time you go to tag somebody with an issue. Think about how you're talking. Yeah, just think about it. I will say though that this isn't me just suddenly saying that I was completely in the wrong. I think there's some things I could have done differently and probably better. Frustration did get the better of me in certain parts of it. Like some of the things I posted I probably should have thought twice about. But as a whole, despite what I've just said, I do still stand by the fact that what I was saying was quite accurate, what was quite important, and I do feel like it was ignored, and I do feel like I was treated very badly, and I stand by that. I feel like there's a few people in the community who have been treated very badly this year, and I as much as I'm not trying to influence you in what to think, I am aware that you are people, you have eyes, you have brains, and you can make up your own minds. And I know that there's been a massive loss in respect as a result of how some people have been treated this year. And I don't see that getting fixed anytime soon, especially when the whole thing's being ignored and pretending like it's not happened. Um, but as I say, I don't want anyone trying to cause trouble for me. I don't want anybody singling people out and trying to jump on any little thing they can to make a point, because you don't need to make a point. That point's already been made, and it wasn't made by any of us. And I personally believe in karma, and I'll wait and watch. That's all I need to do. But yeah, all I ever wanted to do was discussion. That was my main topic. And I was banned in February from the forums. I was given zero communication as to why, apart from that email which made no sense and clarified nothing. So I've been wanting to make a discussion video for quite some time, and I wasn't sure if I could. I would imagine that if there was any restrictions on me being vocal about discussion topics within the game, I would have been told very clearly. That has not happened. So that's what this video is going to be about. I want to do a discussion video. I was going to do one months ago, but I thought I might get into trouble. But as I say, I'd imagine if there was some sort of problem with me talking about the game, I would have been told, you're not allowed to talk about it anymore. That's not happened, so if it is an issue, that's not my fault, you haven't told me. This discussion, it's not going to be ragging on the game. I think possibly something I've noticed about myself is, and I think a lot of us are guilty of it, I think I personally am very fair with what I say. I'll pick up on the good things and the bad things about both the game and the community and myself. I try and be as fair with everything as I can be. But despite the fact that I do mention the good and bad things, I think it's very easy for all of us, I know I do it, it's very easy to get caught up on the negatives, and that becomes the highlight of anything you talk about. You could talk about something good for 5 seconds, something bad for 5 minutes. And I think that's what gets noticed. So with this, there's a few topics I want to talk about. I want to look at Op 7. I want to look at some of the things that are being discussed within the community that I see on 2 different social media sites. I want to just talk about my opinions, talk about my opinions on the things that are being said, some of the things I agree, some of the things I disagree, and potentially hear your thoughts as to why you agree or disagree. That is all this video is going to be. You may have noticed on my channel I have unlisted all of the feedback videos I've ever made, because I stand by the fact I am refusing to help give feedback whilst I'm being treated in this way, and I stand by that. But that doesn't mean that I have to link in discussion with you along with feedback for a company. It's 2 separate things, and that's something I didn't see for a long time. So this is discussion. So the first thing I want to talk about is crossplay. Now, there's a few different parts of this topic, but I want to break it down individually of all the different points I see being made. The first one is how much more powerful PC is over Xbox. Now, don't get me wrong, a good PC against an old generation Xbox, which we'll come back to later, but you need to keep in mind, old generation, that is going to have performance differences, and the PC will have an advantage. However, there are new consoles out now, and whilst I understand that there is a stock shortage worldwide, that's not really something the entire gaming industry can be put on hold for just until you get your console and everything's okay. So, as it stands, there are currently Xbox consoles with this capability. You've got a CPU with 8 cores on the Zen 2 architecture. You've got a GPU with 12 teraflops. You've got memory, which I can't directly compare to PC system memory, as it is GDDR6, which is your graphical memory. However, this is much, much, much faster than any regular system memory you can get in a PC. This is what you find in a standalone graphics card. So, the point I often see being made is that console players can't be expected to splash out and be able to afford a new system. Okay, that's valid. Everyone's got different financial situations. However, the argument seems to be made that all PCs seem to be uber powerful and much more powerful than any console there's going to be. So I've put together a small list, and keeping in mind for how people seem to think you can't be expected to pay all this, I've not looked at this yet, I've got absolutely no idea what price I'm going to get at the end of this, but keeping in mind how people seem to think that console players should be justified to stay off crossplay because they can't be expected to pay for an upgrade, let's find out what the expectation is for a PC player to just match some of those specs within your console. So CPU, I've gone with an AMD, AMD 3800 XT. How much is that? $426. Let's add to the cart. Leaving out all the cooling, all the stuff like that, I'm trying to be as fair to the price as it can be. Memory, as I say, I can't do that directly, so I'm just going to pick some 3200 megahertz DDR4. DDR4 3200. What have we got? Top one. We'll just go the top one. Cheaper than that. Yep, that one. Okay, and the next one is GPU. Now, I was having a little look, and I was trying to find something with 12 teraflops. I couldn't find one directly. I'm sure there is one, but from a quick look, I couldn't. The closest I could find was a 2070 Super, which was last generation NVIDIA architecture. That has 9 teraflops. That is 3 less than what you've got on your console. So let's have a look for that. 2070 Super. I'm not interested in brand. I'm just going to put the top one, whatever shows up. That's got a right, I'm ignoring that. What the actual hell? Okay, that's a bit awkward. Yeah, so this is the thing we're facing right now. I'm not going to include that. Bear with me. Okay, so I couldn't find anything available on that website, so I've gone to the NVIDIA site now. So RTX 2070 Super, and we'll just keep a mental note of the price. Call it £800, which to dollars, because that's what we're doing. Pounds to dollars. $7.99.99. That is $1,132. I'll make a note of that on the other screen, so I can have that on at the end. 0.3. Okay, we've got that. So back to this list, we've got one more part that I'm going to add, and that is your NVMe storage. Where will that be? Storage. Okay. So the one I've picked for this is a Samsung 970 Evo. And it's 1 terabyte, so it's this one. So the reason I've gone with this one is that it is a little bit slower than the one you've got in your Xbox, so I'm not getting anything overpowered. This is as close as I can get. $239. Add. Okay. So right now, our 3 items. So on this site, we've got your CPU, your memory, which is slower than what you've got in your console, your SSD, which is slower than what you've got in your console, plus this. So if we have a little look, what have we got? Bring the calculator over. Just try to make it so clear to make sure I'm not making anything up. So where's the calculator? 758.89. Add 1132 pound 3. $1,890. That's dollars. I need to get that in mind. Call it $1,900 for 4 components towards a PC. Everyone has different financial situations. Absolutely, totally agree. But let's have a look to see how much your console costs, just to compare to how much it costs for a comparable sort of PC. What would it be? Where's the price? Where are we looking? Oh, I think that was it. Nope. It could be here somewhere. Where's the price? Oh, there we go. $500. So that's approximately $1,300 cheaper for a fully functional console. So, if we're to assume that console players can't be expected to pay that for that sort of performance, what makes you believe that every single PC player you come across has comparable specifications? If the price is an issue for console players to upgrade, what makes you think that PC players can afford that sort of thing? Is it in the realm of possibility that most PC players are actually on lower spec parts? And in fact, could it be possible that your Series X could actually be outperforming a lot of PCs you're playing against? If we're going based on the sole premise of money and cost, then surely it stands to reason that the console is more powerful than many of the PCs you could be going against. Of course, I'm not an idiot though. I understand that crossplay does open you up to the possibility of getting against PC enthusiasts, people who do want the best that they can possibly have. So, for example, this graphics card here, I understand this is much more powerful than anything you can get in any console. The frequencies are higher, the faster memory, all different things, I understand it's higher. I know that, should I change settings, I know that this PC can push 400-500 frames a second on Gears 5. I'd never play in those settings, but I know it's possible. I also know that that's something the console just cannot achieve. But despite the fact I've got this computer, what FPS can I see? I've got a 60Hz monitor. I have two 60Hz monitors, both 4K. When I bought these monitors, I didn't have this computer. I had a computer that was more... It could do 4K, but it struggled. So I wanted it to look good for my single-player games. Now I've upgraded my PC, I don't want to throw away £800 worth of monitor, or probably about $1,000 worth of monitor. There's nothing wrong with them, but I'm not going to upgrade my monitors just for a higher frame rate to win on Gears. So yes, I've got a PC now that will monstrously outperform any console, but I'm not seeing any insane frame rates. The computer can do it, but I can't see it. And chances are, there probably are a lot of people who also cannot see extremely high frame rates. So in this sense, your console, you're getting pretty much double the FPS than what I can see. Does that mean you've got the advantage over me? Have you ever thought about that? Don't get me wrong though, I know there will be instances where someone has a very strong computer and a very fast monitor refresh rate. Not refresh rate, hertz, sorry. In which case, yes, that will have a slight advantage over you. However, you are still at 120 frames a second. That is nowhere near slow. The only thing I feel that a PC player might have over you, and even now it's going to be minimal since the new changes and the power towards the new Xbox Series X, is latency, or when you press a button on your controller, how long it takes to actually register on the game. A PC might have it micro faster than what you can have on your Xbox now. In the past, on an old Xbox One, it was very noticeable, and I say again, if you're on the old Xbox, you have a valid reason to not be happy about going against a good PC. I completely do see that, I'm not stupid. But you reach a point where you need to realise the Xbox One is an incredibly old console now. It's last generation hardware. You are trying to play a current generation game. It is you who is knowingly remaining on a console that cannot run the game. If I were to see a game come out on Steam and I didn't have the computer I've got, I would not purchase that game if I had looked at the PC requirements and I knew my PC couldn't run it. I definitely wouldn't then go and complain to the developers because I can't run it very well. That's your fault. If you want to play a game that's a new game, then buy a new console or a new piece of hardware to play that game. If it's not running very well on your old hardware, that's your problem. It doesn't mean that a crossplay feature to bring the community together should be left out just because you want to remain in the past. I've kind of got used to hearing all sorts of excuses, and perhaps some of them are valid, perhaps they're excuses and nothing more, but that's your opinion to decide. But I'm still hearing about them now, One of them, not so much, but one of them was always the field of view slider. PC had this, Xbox did not. I am happy that Xbox now has this because I don't believe it's the advantage that so many players used to believe it was. It is very nice to have, it is a very nice convenience, and I personally enjoy the higher field of view. I accept it's something that console could not do, but I don't feel like it's the massive game change that people always used to think it was. And I'm not seeing any console players coming out and saying, oh, this is amazing, I'm suddenly doing fantastic. I thought it was an advantage. What's the deal with it? You've got it now. Why are you not overjoyed? The other one is keyboard and mouse. Now, personally, I've tried keyboard and mouse, and I am atrocious at it. So I play controller. However, one of the main reasons for people wanting to turn off crossplay was because they didn't want to play against keyboard and mouse players. That's up to them, and there could be an argument for it. I'm not saying there's not. But I feel that that argument, should it be there, is for input-based matchmaking, not crossplay. And the reason for that, if a person so wished to, they could plug in a keyboard and mouse to their Xbox and they could play against you. Even if crossplay was again disabled, you could still be against keyboard and mouse. So what's the logic in removing crossplay purely for that? Makes absolutely no sense. Is it just you didn't know this, or you refuse to accept it as a valid reason? The main counter I see to this comment is, yeah, but no one plays keyboard and mouse on Xbox. Okay. You're most probably right. The vast majority of people probably don't. And yeah, I agree. But the question is, one, how do you know what everyone else is using in the lobby when it doesn't say? Also, that's also missing the point entirely. Because if keyboard and mouse is, again, this super advantage that everybody has if they're able to do it, why are you choosing not to do it? Why are you not doing it? Everyone can do it on the console should they wish to, so why, in your own words, does no one do it? It seems quite illogical to me. But personally, I play on PC. I use a controller. I use a 60Hz monitor. I don't have all these super advantages that people seem to claim. However, up until recently, I was experiencing hour-long matchmaking times, more than an hour, because 40% of console players wanted to turn off crossplay. Why? What advantage did I have over you? I don't see it. I've just gone through all of the reasons why I had no advantage over you, but still you feel like I did. And there's only one thing left that I can assume, and that is the fact that my PC is overly overpowerful. So you feel like that's just an extreme sort of excuse. No worries. I want to show how, yes, I've got this extra headroom in my PC, but that doesn't mean it's all 100% the entire time. Watch this.
Won't you make up your mind? 'Cause I'm getting tired of overthinking every move you make. And I can help you decide who you're loving now, and how I'm not quite there somehow. My intuition says to give you up, but my heart can't easily let you go. I try to tell myself this isn't love, and I hate that I never really know if I should stay or be alone. I'm just waiting for the fight, but you won't even try to survive. You would rather keep it all inside, and I can help you decide who you're loving now, and how I'm not quite there somehow. My intuition says to give you up, but my heart can't easily let you go. I try to tell myself this isn't love, but I hate that I never really know if I should stay or be alone. If I should stay or be alone. If I should stay or be alone. I don't wanna be alone tonight. I'm just hoping that you'll be just right. And I hate that I never really know if I should stay or be alone.
I hope what you've just seen makes more sense to you now. Yes, I've got a computer that can outperform a console. Yes, other people do have computers that can outperform a console. But looking at that, the first part you can see the CPU, the power usage and the core clocks. The only time it ramped up was during the splash screen loading and during the map loading. Other than that, it was sat there, it couldn't care less. It was doing what it needed to do to process the game, and the rest was just sat there, near enough idle. Graphics card. That again, when I'm playing, I only need to hit 60 frames a second. So it's not away doing all of the stuff, it's doing what I need it to do. And you could see there the numbers clearly showing, yes, I've clearly got extra headroom. But that's not giving me some sort of massive advantage. What that means is, if I need to do something, for example, pull the trigger, the computer has enough hardware ready to process that trigger press. And it will go through. It'll have a low latency. It won't take forever. The problem that old consoles, like the older Xbox Ones, used to have was the latency. It used to struggle because it was pretty much maxing out the hardware. It didn't have much overhead room. So when you pull the trigger, you would feel a weird sluggish delay. That was just latency. That was because your console was at its limit. So going back to my PC and other PCs similar to it, as long as it can run the game, it doesn't matter if it's at 75% or 7%. If it's got room left to perform other calculations should it be needed to, it will be fine. And the same applies to your Xbox consoles, your new Series X consoles. I have little doubt in my mind that they've got plenty of headroom to run this sort of title, because this console now is for the next generation of gaming. So it should be able to run a current game. I would imagine there's headroom. I would imagine you now have low latency. So just because you haven't got the hardware matching what I've got, as long as your hardware can run the game, as long as my hardware can run the game, as long as there's overhead room for both of us, it doesn't matter how much overhead room either of us have. It will run the game the same. So looking at crossplay, I do not see any reason as to why it needs to be disabled again, because we're pretty much on a level playing field if you choose to put yourself on a level playing field. If you choose to not do the things that you feel are an advantage, or if you choose to stay on a bit of hardware from the past, that's your decision, and absolutely it's your choice to make. It's not mine. It's completely up to you. But it's very selfish of you to expect the rest of the Gears community to miss out on crossplay, which does bring the community together, which does let you meet other people, which does offer much shorter matchmaking times for a large amount of players. So, is that the only thing it boils down to then? Selfishness? I don't know. There's one argument I hear a lot, and that is that there's cheaters on PC. Yes, I'm not going to sit here and deny that. But what I will say, and I'm not just saying this because I'm making the video, I'm telling you the truth. In my time on Gears 4, I ran into one person who I was convinced was cheating. This person was downing me in about 6 or 7 Lancer shots to the head, and it was headshot after headshot after headshot. It was evident they were cheating. This person knew who I was, and they were laughing about it in the chat. They knew what they were doing. Gears 5, I've not ran into a single person who I believe to be cheating. And if they were, they're pretty horrendous at it. I do know that there are some people cheating on Gears 5, and yes, it is crap. But the thing I need to try and explain, let's look, I'm taking myself as the example because I don't know how many games you've played, but personally, I wouldn't say I've lived on Gears 5, but I feel like I've played a pretty decent amount of matches on it now. I feel like my ratio of matches compared to cheaters is, well, it hasn't even got one because I've not run into one yet. So it just cannot be something I'd consider to be a significant issue, because the chances of you finding somebody cheating is so low. Yes, you might find someone cheating. You actually might come across someone. But the chance of you finding 2 ever is just so low. So yeah, you'll have one match ruined if you come across one, and yeah, that's crap. Report them. Hopefully they get out the way, they get punished, they get sorted. But that's it. You're going to have one bad experience, and then odds are you're not going to ever find another person cheating again. It does not seem like a valid reason to have crossplay turned off. I am aware that there's a lot of people, because I receive messages all the damn time, a lot of people who believe if someone's better than me, that must mean that person's cheating. No, you need to lose that mindset. As I say, I've lost track how many messages I have had saying aimbot PC cheater reported. I don't cheat, but I've been reported by people so many times who do not understand that. So just because you might think you're against a cheat, maybe they're just a better player than you. You need to consider that. I feel like I've covered the crossplay topic in detail. If there's anything I've missed out, or if you still disagree despite that, I'd love to hear why you think that, and we'll talk about it. As I say, I love discussion. But for me, that's crossplay ticked off. So looking at Op 7, there's a few things obviously to look at, but the first thing I want to see is the map. I've played this in public, I think, twice. I want to have a proper look at it, because you can't really get a chance in public, but also, I don't know, visually, I think it looks absolutely fantastic, this map. You can tell that a lot of effort's been put into this one. I get a massive vibe of Gears of War 2. You know, at the very end, like the end area just before you go down for the Brumac, where you've sunk the city. I get that vibe, and it's the same with Nexus. I like the fact they've put detail outside the map. Like, if you look closely, you've got Hammer of Dawn strikes coming down. To me, that shows they've put effort into it, and that's what you want. There you go, look, that just adds something, you know? Let's have a little look. So, when I was playing it, I didn't dislike it, but I didn't like it. And, let's have a little look. So it's symmetrical, which I like in a Gears map. It's got 3 lanes, which is important for a Gears map, which I think I can see why I don't like it. And I'll go to the overhead map and then I'll explain. So you've got a way through there and a way through there. So if I just get somewhere safe for a second, so I don't get a bot rip my head off. So if I bring up the map, so can I see my mouse on this? You can sort of see my mouse, kind of. Right, so, oh, that's typical, isn't it? It's always when you try to show somebody something, a bot turns up. Go away. Let me just kill this. I'm going to die to it. Right, I'm going to get this shield. Right. Sorry. So, there's your map, and I want to use my mouse. So, this is 3 lanes. So, you've got lane 1, lane 2, lane 3. Now, for me, I want those lanes to be separated. So, the fact you can go through here to get to lane 1, you can go through there to get to lane 3. It feels like you've got... It's too interlinked, because you can turn this map the other way, and that's lane 1, that's lane 2, that's lane 3, and I don't like that. It's one of the reasons why I wasn't too sure on Tomb. Let me jump to that and show you what I mean quick. Okay, so we're loaded into Tomb now, and it's the same thing. Like, visually the map's great, but again I'm going to have to pause it to be able to show you my mouse, but lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, and that would be ideal in my opinion. However, you've got these routes, so that gets you to lane 1, that gets you to lane 1, that gets you to lane 3, that gets you to lane 3, and it just feels like there's no controlling the lanes, there's no sort of map control like that. Because let's say, I'm going to get this really special spot, let's say you're here and there's something going on over there, you need to help your teammate, or you're stuck here. You've got the easy cop out as being able to go, oh, well, I'll go over here now. Or I believe you can you jump over? Yeah, you could jump over there as well. I don't like the fact you can just get out of a lane like that. It seems a little bit too easy. And I feel like it makes the map feel way too open than how it should be. Oh, hang on a minute. No, this bot's going to get me. Right. What I do like, let's say you couldn't, let's say, okay, that was blocked off, that was blocked off. You couldn't jump over here. These bots won't leave you alone, will they? So, yeah, those areas are blocked off, and you can't jump over there. It's perfectly fine to be able to support your team from... Please go away. Seriously, please go away. It's perfectly okay to be able to support your team from over here, because you can't access there. But the fact you can just go over there on a whim, it just seems... I think that's the reason why... Whilst I don't dislike the 2 new maps, like obviously this being Last Operation and the new map being just now, I think that's the reason why, whilst I don't dislike them, I don't consider them great maps. The first thing I do always look at for maps is the 3 lanes. Like, I don't know why, that's just me. Like, I do prefer the older style Gears, where near enough every map had that sort of play style, and I can see this map obviously does have that. It's just, as I say, they've been able to get from different lanes so easily. It's something that doesn't really... It's not really for me. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just not for me. The art is fantastic. Like, genuinely, it's really good. I get such Gears 2 vibes from this. It's just a shame, like, this Nexus Tomb... That art style, had the whole game been like that, without strange characters in it, like without robots and all that sort of stuff, can you imagine how absolutely fantastic this game would look with skins in the game that fit the game's... Look at that, that's Gears. If this game didn't have silly skins in it, it looks so good. And if the other maps sort of went, not necessarily with this theme every time, but with this sort of feeling, like the feeling of like the older Gears of Wars, it'd be so good. Like, honestly, like the graphics is something that both Gears 4 and Gears 5 do really well. Yeah, like if we'd had maps like this all along, it would have been so good. I would obviously limit how the map plays, as I said before, with the lanes, but I think this is visually one of the better maps. And to be fair, I do think, since they got the feedback of... I do think that since they got the feedback of how they want maps to be, you can see they've gone for it. You can see they've worked on it. Like, this is like something like a campaign. Like, you'd expect to see this area pulled from campaign, but it's not. It's its own map. Yeah, like, I'm not saying this is a bad map. I just don't know how much I'd enjoy playing on it. Because as I say, like, without looking at an overview map now, is that a lane down there? Or is that a lane down there? It doesn't matter which way you're facing. Because it's sort of a cross in the middle of the map, it hasn't got lanes anymore. It's just sort of an outside square with something in the middle to fight over. Yeah, a small tweak. I'd get rid of like, if it was me, I would get rid of these stairs completely. I would put a barricade off there so you can have fights down here, but you're still stuck inside the building. And I would make it so this is still here so you can shoot over, but I'd make it so you can't mantle it. And that would completely separate it into 3 lanes, and I think it would play a lot better. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the map. It does look really good. Just to show you how it plays. That said, like I've only had 2 matches on it, and that was only in public, so I can't really judge how it plays too much. But I feel like because you can sort of run anywhere, whenever you want to, it'll probably play a little bit arcadey. Yeah, small change. I think it'll be really good, but definitely not a bad map. As I said, I didn't want this video to be like ragging on the game, but I also want to state the fact that I'm honest with what I do and what I say. And I've got to point out a negative. For a long time, we all got used to this new Omen. Like, a lot of us didn't like it, and I don't think we so much accepted it and started to like it. I think we just gave up hoping that it had changed back. And I don't know, so I'm completely guessing, but I'm guessing that a lot of people just literally changed to the simple Omen. Now, if you're not aware, there's currently a bug whereby if you take just a little bit of damage, you'll be put full red. So if you want any form of actual indication as to how hurt you are, you've been advised to switch to immersive. Now, this personally makes me get headaches, which is not really something you want when you're trying to play a game. Earlier in the game's lifespan, I believe it's been changed since, so don't hold too much to this. But I do know that the immersive Omen used to make people feel really ill, like seriously ill. So I'm a bit disappointed to see that this is a change that's been made that didn't really need to be made, and it's resulted in this. Because I don't play a game for it to make me feel unwell, especially when it's something that didn't need to be adjusted. I'd be so happy to be able to just put it back to simple. Like, personally, I'd prefer the old Gears Omen in general, but I can live with the simple one. The immersive, it's just far too much. Yeah, like, it's disappointing to see that. This is something that I don't really like, and it's not so much in the game itself, it's more the information that we're getting. This one was obviously spoken about before it was actually in the game, and this was about wrap shots. Nothing was actually stated as to what was being changed, and even in the patch notes now we've got no information as to what's been changed. I have played, and I can't feel practically any difference, so I'm not entirely sure what the deal is with this. I feel like as players we got used to getting a lot of information about the game and how it runs on a mechanical level. I was quite vocal in the sense of I was expecting the wrap shot to be completely broken based on the way things were being worded. And it's not been, which obviously I'm happy about. But I just don't feel that there's very much information in this. Situations that allowed players to wrap their shots around cover have been addressed. The wrap shot technique is now much more difficult to perform as a result. Okay, cool, but how? What's been changed? What's been done? As a player, what do I need to change about my playstyle if I want to still land that shot with skill? Like, what's been adjusted? Is it bloom? Is it magnetism? What's happened? I'd like to know. And on that same topic, it's this. Adjusted the gib range slightly to compensate for the changes made to gib calculation in Operation 6. Okay, I was very much feeling like the gib range was far too big. But what is the gib range now? Like, how much has it been reduced? As a player, I'd like to know for timing's sake, I want to know what's been adjusted. I feel like these patch notes, compared to how they used to be, have gone massively backwards. Because let's look back to July 30th, okay? This, in my opinion, is one of the best patch notes we've ever had. Like, we get all these images showing exactly how the aim assists were being adjusted, like before and after, for the shot types. You've got all the different bullet spreads of how different things are now. All different camera shakes, like when you're getting hit, the new pellet spread, when you're moving the pellet spread, or the flinch, that's what I meant, not camera shake, sorry, flinch. So you got that. And then you get down to this, you've got movement, like telling you how many Unreal units, are now in it. It's gone from 630 to 650. All these changes there. Then you've got damage curves. That was a fantastic patch notes and update information for the players to understand what's happening. And now we've got adjusted the give range slightly. I mean, I like the change. I'm glad the give range has been reduced. But what changed? Like, as a player, I'd love to know that. That's a bit of a gripe I've got with this. In my opinion, I've saved the best thing to last, and I know there's a few people against this. Bit confused why, but let's have a look at it. It's the fact ranked has gone completely. Now, before I go into the competitive bit, I am so happy that ranked has gone, because I've said all along through Gears 4 and Gears 5 that it made people play weird, because you could get somebody who is for example, a high onyx to low diamond player. That player most likely has an ego, because most people on Gears do. So that ego made that player want to be masters. They felt that they should be masters, they deserved to be, but they couldn't do it. So they would find a team and they would play differently purely to get to masters. Now, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Once that player gets into masters, they are out of their league. They have reached masters, they've got their awards, but they should not belong in there. So once they are no longer in their team, who are all playing weirdly, they are then stuck, because they're going to be playing against people who deserve to be in that, and they cannot compete. So they are not going to enjoy those matches while they tumble back down the ranks back towards their correct rank. Then you've got people against them. They're going to be saying, wow, that guy's masters, how's he got that? Like, that, the ranks are just crap, like, that means nothing. And then you've got the person's teammates who are expecting to have a masters teammate, but in actuality, they've got somebody who is misranked based on how they've played in order to get there. So, I've heard that, as far as I'm aware, it's not currently working. I could be wrong, but that aside, competitive should at some point have proper skill-based matchmaking, which is what rank should have been all along. So I've said all along that the ranks made people play differently, and I feel that it only happened like that because people could see their ranks. So Gears 4, in my opinion, had the best rank system, because you could see it, but it worked. Like, it was a good representation of your skill. But players didn't like it because it wasn't clear how you ranked up. Then Gears 5 come out, and it launched with a similar system, and then it was changed because people still complained that they didn't understand how it worked. In the end, that system just could not have worked in a way that people would understand it. So it was all scrapped, and we got the GP system. That's a shame, because I really liked that old system. I think it was great for reflecting somebody's skill. Then we got the GP system, and that did have potential, but I feel like the balancing around it was just so skewed. I feel like the fact the game ever had eliminations was a massive factor as to why it didn't work, because somebody could get full points for landing just one bullet, and that made the whole thing pointless. Just in itself, the eliminations made the whole thing pointless. But you also, keep in mind how people just always want to progress. They don't see it as their rank. They don't see it as that's there, so you get close matches. You get it, so people always want to progress. And I suppose you could argue people always want to improve. Yeah, and I encourage that, but I think that progression and improvement are two separate things in this instance. So I'm going to keep using the word progress. People always just wanted to grind more to reach masters, and the ranks shouldn't be something to grind. It should be something that as you improve as a player, you progress through naturally. And because people couldn't, they wanted it to be a little bit easier. They would always be saying, oh, I should be getting more points for that, or doing that in that mode, that should get more points than that. And in the end, they had no alternative but to just bow down to it and be like, yeah, okay, there's your points that you want, there's a ranking system. And they did that to the extent that it just turned into a glorified XP system that meant absolutely nothing. And there was, don't get me wrong, it's unlikely, but in theory, there was absolutely nothing stopping every single player on the game playing till they get to Masters. They, in theory, could have had every single player on this game Masters rank, because it wasn't like how you stack up against the people. It was purely how much you play, how much you've sort of got XP. It was glorified XP, just not called XP. It was far too hard to lose your GP compared to how easy it was to earn. And for a lot of it, I can sort of see why there was no real workaround. Like, they were a bit stuck. I don't know. I think it could have worked if it had had a huge balancing overhaul. But if that happened, the players would have just been unhappy and they'd have moaned. They'd been like, oh, I can't get above gold, can't get above onyx, like, and want more points. I stood in that hill, I capped that hill. I should be getting more points for that. That's the objective. And then that had been increased. And then you'd get people who are boosting by standing in the hill repeatedly. So then that would get abused. So it'd need to be addressed. And then before you know it, that entire game mode has a rank that means nothing, because either it's being boosted or people are complaining that the main objective of it isn't being rewarded enough. So whichever way you look at it, in that sense, the problem is the community, it's the players. Because, don't get me wrong, it's not literally everyone in that mode, it's not. But there's always going to be a select people of like that group who will ruin it. There'll be the people who abuse it and boost if it's possible to boost, and then there'll be people who complain if it's capped to prevent boosting. So there's no winning. But again, that should... Standing in a hill... I'm using Koth as the example. Standing in a hill is not representation of your skill. Yes, you helped towards the objective, but that doesn't make you a good player standing in a hill. So why should you be getting the same or similar amount of points as people who are actually facing off against other people who are making it so that hill is safe for you to stand there? There's just always going to be that back and forth argument of, I wanted more points because I did that. And that is all down to perspective. So personally, I'm happy to see that whole problem go away. The whole GP thing go away, even though it didn't have to be a problem. The community made it a problem. I'm glad it's gone away, because now we can have a true skill in the background running properly to get us closer matches. Once the leaderboards level out, once it's working properly, we'll be getting closer matches compared to people similar skills, similar experience for that operation, and that is what we need. And that just would not have been possible with GP. And I think had we had the Gears 4 ranking system all along and people hadn't complained about it, it would have been great. We would have had closer matches all along. Because think back to Gears 4. If you were in Masters, you got one hell of a match. If you were in Gold, it was kind of okay. Well, obviously it depends on your skill. But if you're in Gold, it was like, okay, this feels like a Gold lobby. That went away as soon as we got GP, because it was no longer a reflection of your skill. So, to avoid repeating myself, we've got competitive versus now, which I like. I've not played that much, but I like. I don't really like control as a game mode, but that's not really relevant. We are going to be getting escalation and execution, which I cannot wait for execution. That's going to be so good to have. Team Deathmatch now has party sizes or squad sizes back up to 4 again, so people who didn't like that, you can do that. But for me, I like the leaderboards. Now, if I go to weekly, obviously I'm miles down, but this is what we wanted for so long, and we've got it. So I don't want to click on a random guy's name. Click on my own. So you can see there what you've done. This is what we've been wanting for so long, and we've got it. In my opinion, I'm much happier to have this than something that says you are masters, because masters meant absolutely nothing. And whilst those stats aren't anything to brag about, that's just an example of, like, that's how I've performed. You can literally see what I have done to get my position in the leaderboards. Whereas, as I say, in the past, you could literally get an elimination from flicking somebody on the toe, and you get the same points as somebody who got the kill. This is so much better, and I cannot understand why people are against it so much. The rewards you get for it, can I see that? I probably can, but I don't know how to. Okay, so it is this, but I don't think I can click on it. I think that looks really good. I do like that. I've not really looked at those, to be fair. But yeah, that skin does look good. And again, that's something. So to get that, you've got to finish in the top 1,000 this leaderboard, which obviously I'm miles out of. But let's say I got to 800th and then I stopped playing. I end up 2,000th. There's going to be people who complain that they were in the top 1,000 but stopped playing because of various reasons. Oh, I've got a life, blah, blah. Yeah, you do. Fantastic. Congratulations on your life. We all have lives. But your life outside of the game shouldn't mean you deserve an in-game reward. If someone has put the time into playing the game, they deserve the reward, not you. If you get overtaken because your focus went elsewhere, then the person who overtook you has put more time and effort into the game than what you did. So they deserve the reward over you. So I just hope that it's gonna happen. It is absolutely gonna happen. I hope TC do not give in to the people complaining that, oh, I was in top 1,000 but then I fell out of it. I hope they don't get the reward for that, because they don't deserve it. Reward the people who finish in the top 1,000, like what has been stated as a requirement for it. Don't give in and be like, oh, if you're in the top 1,000 in the last week, they will give it you anyway, sort of a pity thing. No, because whilst that's all really nice and easy for those other people who fell out of top 1,000, it's a massive kick in the teeth for those 1,000 people who worked to stay in the top 1,000. And I'm not saying that because I want to get the skins. I don't think I will ever finish in top 1,000 because I don't have the time to put into this game anymore. And this is my point. I used to put my life into Gears. Now, I don't have the time or motivation to do that anymore. So I do not deserve the reward that somebody who does have the time and motivation does. Like, if they put the time and effort in, they should get the reward and not me. These leaderboards are brilliant. I just cannot wait for execution to come along because I will be playing a lot more then. I don't think I've missed much important stuff from Up 7, if anything. Like, I've never been, excuse me, I've never been one to look at the store. Like, I've got zero interest in that. Yeah, I'm sure there's new stuff there. Like, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I'm not interested in that. Overall, I do feel like the game is in a really good place now. Obviously, Op 7 is going to run through. Then we're going to have Op 8, and then Op 8 will be the last operation that we get for the game. I'm not going to hold my breath, but I'm crossing my fingers that shot delay gets removed, because I just do not enjoy the game when that delays in the game. But other than that, there's a few silly glitches, like the Omen doesn't need to be a glitch. The leaderboards, I don't understand how there's always a problem with leaderboards in every game ever. Fix that. I've heard that there's a glitch recently where people are spawning on the wrong team. Come on, what is going on? Fix that. But other than, what I'm trying to say is, there's a shot play, which, yeah, is my preference. I'd like to see go. There's a few glitches that I want to see gone. But other than that, whilst I don't think I'd ever say this is my favourite Gears, because it's not, I think with a few tweaks and a few fixes, it could be a good enough game to get us through to Gears 6. Yeah. Op 7, I don't think it's some sort of amazing update, but it's certainly added something with those leaderboards. I think the leaderboards is the best part of it for me. Yeah, it gives you something to brag about, because Masters, whether you like it or not, Masters meant absolutely nothing. The Masters skins, they mean absolutely nothing if you've got them now. Like, I've got them, and then later on, it was just so easy to get from free-for-all that you might as well just put them in the store at this point. And that's kind of the reason, and I'm like repeating myself, but that's kind of the reason now, because Master Skins was so easy to get, it's why I don't want to see these easy. It needs to stay finish in the top 1,000, not be in for a little bit, it needs to finish in the top 1,000. Put the effort in, reward the people who put the effort in. Yeah, I know that was a bit of a weird video, like a few different topics at the start, but I just wanted to cover the things that I see talked about a lot. And I've gone about leaderboards at the end a lot there, but that's also a topic that I see a lot. Let me know your thoughts. This is probably about an hour-long video, which for me, that's short, so don't have a go at me, alright? Yeah, let me know what you think, and thank you for watching if you made it this far, and have a good day.